Okay, so shall we move ahead with vasa previa quickly? All right, can
Yes,
anybody?
okay.
Oh, okay, very good. So can anybody tell me what is the clinical presentation of vasa previa?
Bleeding,
There,
bleeding in
there
labor.
might be bleeding during ARM after rupture of membranes. There could be profuse bleeding,
And
Yes.
bradycardia, fetal bradycardia.
or there could be bradycardia or variable deceleration on the CTG.
Okay. And what is the typical pattern on CTG when there is fetal bradycardia, which is suggestive of very typical fetal bradycardia?
Variable decibels.
Sorry, it is a sinusoidal pattern. Okay. And another thing that I would like to ask uh, is anybody aware of the situations where you can find vasa previa? Yes, anyone? Like, what are the situations where you can find vasa previa? Any specific condition with typical cord insertion or any placental
Yes,
position?
sexudate placenta.
Yes.
Substantiate
Let-
placenta.
Twins
Bilobe
and twins
placenta.
again see monoclonic monoamniotic twins in that as well.
The
Okay.
IVF.
Anything to be associated with cord insertion?
Filamentous cord insertion.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. All right. So most of the things you already know. So like what is vasa previa? What are the signs and symptoms? How it presents? And how are we going to manage? Okay. All right. So what is vasa previa? It occurs. So placenta was overlying the cervix. Vasa previa means when the blood vessels will lie over the cervix, directly over the cervix. And here the vessels are the fetal blood vessels, which are traversing the placental membranes. So it occurs when the fetal blood vessels run through the free placental membranes. And since it is unprotected by the placental tissue or the Wharton's jelly of the umbilical cord, vasa previa is likely to rupture in active labor or when amniotomy is performed to induce or augment labor, in particular when located near or over the cervix under the fetal presenting part. Okay, so here we can see types of vasa previa, type 1 and type 2. Type 1, when do we say type 1? When the vessel is connected to a filamentous umbilical cord. So what is meant by filamentous umbilical cord? That this is the placenta and here the umbilical cord is arising from the edge of the placenta, not from the center. So what happens when it is arising from the edge? The fetal vessels it carries, it is free and unprotected in the membranes till the part it finally reaches the umbilical cord. Okay, so basically they traverse between the membranes, that is amnion and chorion, before they reach the placenta. So that is why here it remains unprotected, and that's why it is very easy to rupture when you do amniotomy or where there is spontaneous rupture of membranes or when when the patient is having contractions, and it can exsanguinate the baby. Second is when the placenta has a subcenturiate or the accessory lobe, like in this situation. So here the umbilical cord is arising from the center, normal position, but because of the accessory lobe and membranes being connected. Some of the blood vessels, fetal blood vessels, are present here, which are again exposed here and unprotected by placenta here. So that is why again at risk of rupture and bleeding. These are the two types of vasa previa. Now,
Ma'am, can you repeat again? I have missed.
okay, no problem. So what we were saying is there are two types, type 1, type 2. Type 1 is when it is associated with filamentous cord insertion. That means the umbilical cord is arising from the end of the placenta or edge of the placenta instead from the center. And when it is arising from the edge of the placenta, some of the part, the fetal vessels are traversing or diverging between the placental membranes, that is the amnion and the chorion, before they reach the actual umbilical cord. So that is why it is exposed and very easy to rupture while doing amniotomy or when the patient is having contractions. And while type 2, if you see, placenta is having an accessory or succenturiate lobe. So that is why some portion where there's fetal head, some portion where there's only membranes and no placental tissue, some of the fetal vessels lie exposed. And that is why, again, at risk of rupture during amniotomy or spontaneous rupture of membranes or during contractions. So these are the two types. So here umbilical cord is arising from its normal position, but because of the accessory lobe, there is a portion of the placenta where there is only membranes and no placental tissue. That is why fetal blood vessels are exposed. Understood the difference?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, welcome. So coming to the first point here, vasa previa may be diagnosed during early labor by vaginal examination, detecting the pulsating fetal vessels inside the internal os. So you can actually feel the pulsating fetal vessels, or by the presence of dark red vaginal bleeding and acute fetal compromise after spontaneous or artificial rupture of the placental membranes. A very typical clinical scenario which might be given in the exam, and the question what they ask is, what is the next management plan? So what is the next management plan?
Emergency cesarean section.
Yes,
Emergency surgery.
yes. So it will be like category 1, category 2. So which category?
Category
Category
1.
1.
Yes, excellent. Okay, and what is the fetal mortality rate despite urgent cesarean delivery?
It's 60%. Fetal mortality is high.
Correct. So despite urgent cesarean delivery, still fetal mortality rate is at least 60%. However, improved survival rates of over 95% have been reported where the diagnosis has been made antenatal by ultrasound followed by planned cesarean section. So here the role of screening is in fact more important, considering the high perinatal mortality rate because of emergency cesarean section or the emergency situation. Despite all the measures, it is so high. So is there something we can do so to diagnose antenatally and improve the success rate? Yes, we can try at least, and it has been shown that for the patients where it has been diagnosed antenatally and planned cesarean section has been done, then 95% survival rate is there. What is the incidence? 1 in 1200 to 1 in 5000 pregnancies, and there may be some underreporting of cases as well. So, but overall, it is 1 in 1200 to 1 in 5000 pregnancies. Okay.
Last line, 1 is missing from your.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Okay. Here it's my typing error. Okay, so now how are you going to manage, as we discussed already? Emergency cesarean delivery and neonatal resuscitation, including the use of blood transfusion if required, are essential in the management of ruptured vasa previa diagnosed during labor. Okay. Now, placental pathological examination should be performed to confirm the diagnosis of vasa previa, in particular when a stillbirth has occurred or where there has been acute fetal compromise during delivery. So suppose you did a spontaneous rupture of not spontaneous, you did a rupture of membrane and suddenly there was fetal compromise, acute fetal compromise, or there had been a stillbirth. So in that scenario, clinically you are suspecting that it is vasa previa, but to confirm your diagnosis, you have to send the placenta for histopathological examination to confirm the diagnosis of vasa previa. Okay. Now, classic presentation is unexpected vasa previa in labor is the presence of painless vaginal bleeding. So it is also known as Benckiser's hemorrhage. Okay, so this is a classic presentation that during labor, unexpected painless vaginal bleeding. This is this is also known as Benckiser's hemorrhage. This question is very important. It has been asked many a time in the exam. What is the fetal blood volume at term? Will be four options like this 20 ml per kg, 200 ml per kg, 150 ml per kg. What is the answer? It is
80 to 100 ml per kg.
yes. So this is very important. Please remember, I've seen it at least 2-3 times. It has already been asked in the exam. So how are you going to diagnose? How are you going to manage? This has already been asked. Third important question is, what is the total fetal blood volume at term? It is 80 to 100 ml per kg. So you see the baby weight is how much? Approximately 3 to 3.5 kg on an average. So total blood volume is so less. Just imagine, total blood volume is so less that even slight amount of blood loss can be so risky for the baby. So that is why death rate in babies is so high in case of vasa previa, that even slight amount of blood loss can totally deoxygenate the baby, because the total fetal blood volume at term is approximately 80 to 100 ml per kg. That's it. Okay. So can we diagnose it antenatally? Because if we can do so, we can prevent the life of the baby. So that is why it's very important. But do we go for a general routine screening for it?
For routine screening, we do not go.
Yes, yes. So routine screening is not required and we don't go for routine screening. But we look for the other, risk factors. So performance of ultrasound in diagnosing vasa previa at the time of the routine fetal anomaly scan has a high diagnostic accuracy with a low false positive rate. So if we are basically what we are doing in the routine fetal anomaly scan, we are actually localizing the placenta to see if everything is all good or not, what is the location, and if it is low lying, then what is the distance from the os, or if it is previa, or we are trying to find out the risk of a placenta accreta spectrum and all those things. So at the same time, you're also trying to see what is the I mean to, if we are trying to diagnose vasa previa at the time of fetal anomaly scan, it has got a high diagnostic accuracy. So if you suspect it, then you can diagnose it with high accuracy. Combination of both transabdominal and transvaginal color Doppler imaging ultrasonography provides the best diagnostic accuracy for vasa previa. So transabdominally and transvaginal color Doppler imaging. So both abdominally and transvaginally, by color Doppler, you can actually see the fetal blood vessel blood flow, and it provides the best diagnostic accuracy. So what is the best method to diagnosis? It is transabdominal and transvaginal CDI ultrasonography. Okay. Now, according to systematic review, which included actually 8 studies, they found that prenatal detection rates ranging between 53 and 100%. So we've already seen that combination has got the best diagnostic accuracy, whereas transvaginal color Doppler imaging has improved the accuracy of grayscale imaging and diagnosing vasa previa by demonstrating flow and fetal vascular waveforms on pulse Doppler through at least one aberrant vessel. And vasa previa has been defined as a vessel running in the free placental membranes within 2 centimeters of the cervix. So on ultrasound, how are you going to define vasa previa? It is defined as a vessel, at least one single aberrant vessel you have to find out, which is running in the fetal free placental membranes within 2 centimeters of the cervix. So here also 2 centimeter 20 mm cutoff is being taken because this is the region where there is placental edge or the fetal or the membranes carrying the fetal blood vessels. These are the exposed sites. So risk of hemorrhage or bleeding is there. So here also this 2 centimeter cutoff is being taken. So if it is there within 2 centimeter of the cervix, this is called vasa previa. So this was the question, should we screen? So there is insufficient evidence to support the universal screening in general population. Although targeted mid-pregnancy ultrasound assessment of pregnancies at higher risk of vasa previa has been investigated, the balance of benefit versus harm remains undetermined and further research in this area is required. So targeted mid-pregnancy ultrasound assessment at higher risk patients also, they have been investigated, but balance versus harm remains undetermined, and therefore further research is also required in this area. So that is why targeted population screening is also like controversial. It needs further research. Now, if you see, according to systematic review that was being conducted in 2016, 83% cases reviewed had one or more risk factor, including placenta previa, bilobe placenta, or succenturiate placental lobes, ART, conception, or filamentous cord insertion. So these are the risk factors, out of which 2 most important risk factors that was being identified in the systematic review was, most important was filamentous cord insertion, which was responsible for 62% of the cases. Another second one was placenta previa, which was responsible for 60% of the cases. Vasa previa diagnosed in the second trimester resolves in around 20% cases before delivery. So this is again important, as we see that placenta previa, because of placental migration, it resolves gradually. Whereas similarly, vasa previa also, which was present in second trimester ultrasound, in around 20% of cases, it resolves before delivery. So likewise, as we did confirmation for placenta previa at 32 weeks, here also mid-trimester scan Then follow up again at 32 weeks. Understood? Any confusion here? Okay. How will you manage? So as we already discussed, delivery should not be delayed while trying to confirm the diagnosis, particularly if there is evidence that fetal well-being is compromised. So as soon as the rupture of membranes takes place and blood comes out and a fetal compromise is there, then delivery should not be delayed while trying to confirm the diagnosis. And if you have already diagnosed it antenatally that it is vasa previa, then elective cesarean section should ideally be carried out prior to the onset of labor. Okay. Now, as you know that placenta previa patients, as you have both the options for, during third trimester, you give both the options like hospital management as well as home management. So similarly, vasa previa, a decision for prophylactic hospitalization from 30 to 32 weeks onwards with confirmed vasa previa should be individualized and based on a combination of factors including multiple pregnancy, antenatal bleeding, and threatened premature labor. So if you feel that patient is at risk of premature labor and she has multiple pregnancy and she has had antenatal bleeding, so in those scenarios, you may consider her for hospital admission from 30 to 32 weeks onwards. And in case of vasa previa that develop premature rupture of membranes and or labor at viable gestational age, cesarean section should be performed without delay. So if it is more than 26 weeks, then the fetus is obviously very much viable. And in such cases, if there is premature rupture of membranes, then cesarean section should be performed without delay. To avoid unnecessary anxiety, admissions, prematurity, and cesarean section, it is essential to confirm persistence of vasa previa by ultrasound in the third trimester. So in short, if you have diagnosed it during second trimester scan, please confirm at 32 weeks follow-up scan, because if suppose it was suppose it has resolved, as we saw that in 20% of the cases it resolves gradually, and to avoid unnecessary planning and stress and all those situations. Sorry, any confusion in this slide?
No.
Okay. And since these patients are also at risk of preterm, so it's better to cover steroids, maternal corticosteroids for fetal lung maturity. Okay. So if it is 34 weeks beyond, then obviously you have to give. Even if it is before 34 weeks, it is advisable to administer corticosteroids. Now, at what gestation should elective delivery occur? So usually you will see that if everything is all good, 36 weeks for a previa and accreta, it was 36 to 37 weeks. But since in vasa previa, it is very risky, so you will do slightly earlier. So ultimate management goal of confirmed vasa previa should be to deliver before rupture of membranes while minimizing the impact of iatrogenic prematurity. Based on available data, planned cesarean delivery for a prenatal diagnosis of vasa previa at 34 to 36 weeks of gestation is reasonable and in asymptomatic women. So for asymptomatic women is 34 to 36 weeks. Now, administration of corticosteroids should be recommended from 32 weeks of gestation due to increased risk of preterm delivery. So here from 32 weeks onwards only you will give corticosteroids, or earlier if you're anticipating that she might be at higher risk of preterm delivery. And the timing of delivery is, if all is good and well, between 34 to 36 weeks. Similarly, clinical governance topics involves debriefing of the patient and relatives along with the staff members, then training and clinical incident reporting as we discussed for placenta previa and accreta. Any questions in previa, management or diagnosis?
No, ma'am.
This debriefing should be done when the patient is stable, and it should be done together, all family member, or we can do separately.
I mean, close relatives are usually there for debriefing. So usually you will find the word close relatives.
This is just after the procedure done or the patient is stable.
No,
Or no
not
time limit.
immediately. No, not immediately after the procedure. When the patient is in a sound body and mind to understand like what she has gone through, what were the complications, or because many of the times, as we discussed, like in emergency situation, the fetal death rate is quite high. So there is a possibility that suppose you could not save the baby, then if immediately after the procedure if you're going to tell her, she might react in a very different way. So usually debriefing is done. It can be done anytime after the surgery, but usually done when she is in a sound body and mind.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. And anything else coming to your mind? Okay, so we will discuss few questions. Please, anyone who would like to volunteer?
Okay, I will give answer. What is the incidence of vasa previa in women who have had successful in
In vitro
vitro fertilization treatment? What is in vitro fertilization treatment? 1 in 10 pregnancies, 1 in 30, 1 in 100 pregnancy, 1 in 300 pregnancy, 1 in 1000 pregnancy. D?
Yes, excellent. Very good. It
1
is
in.
one.
And
Yes.
question number 2, placenta accreta strong association with maternal age more than 40, smoking, previous cesarean section. Accreta. Previous cesarean section, more association.
Yes, yes. And if it associated with alongside with placenta previa, then the risk would be further higher.
And smoking and
Smoking and maternal age are also there, but the strong association is with
previous cesarean section.
yes, yes. Okay, very nice. So these are the true false questions, and anybody would like to attempt?
Chanda.
Okay, yes, please go ahead.
Fetal heart rate abnormalities in the absence of bleeding exclude the diagnosis. Fetal heart abnormalities in the absence of bleeding exclude diagnosis. False. Fetal heart
Okay.
abnormalities.
Because what happens? Okay, tell me that fetal heart abnormalities in the absence of bleeding. So will it be vasa previa or something else?
Something else.
So what are we doing? Are we excluding the diagnosis or not?
It's true.
Excluding.
Yes. So here what we are doing is the correct clinical presentation is there is bleeding followed by acute fetal compromise, right? So,
Yes.
so if this is not the scenario, then we are actually excluding the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Understood? So it's in fact a true statement.
True. Yeah.
Okay.
Where
Please
there
proceed.
is vaginal bleeding associated with membrane rupture and the diagnosis is suspected, a clear Berkeley test should be performed before delivering the baby. False. It should be done after delivery.
So what do you think? Klein-Hoyer-Betke test should be performed or not?
We should perform if the blood group of mother is negative. In that case, we should do Klein-Hoyer-Betke test to know whether I need to give the NTD or not, or how much NTD I should give.
Okay. So would you waste time doing this test before delivery?
No, after
Okay.
delivery.
And what is the mortality rate associated with Vasaprevia for the baby?
Around
60.
6.
Okay, correct. And third question, please read.
There is evidence to suggest routine screening for this condition at the mid-trimester anomaly scan. Routine, there is evidence to suggest routine is false.
Yes, correct. And what is the time when you will plan for elective delivery of this patient?
Between 34 to 36 weeks.
Okay, and when would you administer corticosteroids?
After 32.
Yes. So these are the things about Vasaprevia. What are the two types of Vasaprevia?
One is due to type 1 and type 2. One is filamentous cord insertion.
Yes.
And another one is related to succincture placenta.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Chanda. And anyone else for placenta previa?
Thank you too.
Who will read the questions now?
Okay, I will read the questions.
Okay. Okay, doctor, please go ahead.
Placenta previa, the UK National Screening Committee recommends a national screening program for placenta previa. Yes, it should be done at the time of the anomaly scan at all the pregnant women.
Yes, excellent. Next question, please.
Apparent migration of the placenta owing to the development of the lower uterine segment occurs to similar degree with anterior and posterior placentas. No, in posterior placenta migration is less.
Yes, very good.
Then third, a woman who has had a previous cesarean section with placenta previa, diagnosed as 20 to 23 weeks, has a significantly higher chance of persistent placenta previa at term compared with some one without a previous cesarean section. Yes, it's true. As
Yes.
previous cesarean scar, the migration chance is less. All
Yes.
women with suspected placenta previa should be imaged at 32 weeks of gestation to clarify the diagnosis and allow planning of the third trimester management. Suspected placenta should be imaged at 32 weeks. Yes, it's true, to
Yes.
clarify the diagnosis.
Yes. And when would you repeat the scan if she remains asymptomatic?
Asymptomatic, if she remain, then we will repeat ultrasound TVS at 36 week of gestation, as 50% more low-lying placenta and placenta previa migrate.
Yes. And when would you plan her delivery for such females?
If patient remains asymptomatic, then we will plan delivery 37 week, completed week.
Yes. So like for previa, if she's asymptomatic and 36 weeks also you have confirmed that she's still previa, then you will plan her cesarean section between 36 weeks to 36
37 weeks.
plus 6 days, matlab before 37 weeks, completed weeks.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Very good. So, would you like to continue?
Okay, Dr. Nisha. Where there has been no bleeding, there is a major placenta previa. Planned delivery is recommended at 37 to 38 weeks of gestation. It's false. If no
Yes.
bleeding, then already I said that planned delivery should be between 36 and 37 weeks.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, the care of bundle of suspected placenta previa should only be applied to selected cases with previous cesarean section. No, if patient is have a suspected placenta previa and with a previous cesarean section, we should provide a care of mother. It's
Mm,
false. It's false.
yes. Where would you apply the care bundle? Where did we read it?
When we have suspected placenta previa and placenta
In
accreta.
previa or in accreta? So we basically read it for placenta accreta.
Accreta.
So the
Okay.
question should be like the care
Okay,
bundle for
then it is
suspected
false. Then
placenta
it is false.
accreta. Yes.
Okay, then it is false.
Yeah. Okay. Please go
If
ahead.
the placenta fails to separate at the time of surgery with the usual measures, leave the placenta in place, and closing the abdomen should only be considered as the last resort.
What do you think about it? Is it?
If placenta fails to not bleeding, then we can leave. There are various options. We can give this option. This is not the last resort.
Yes. This is not the last resort, but in fact, uh, this is something which you can opt for rather than, I mean, there was one statement in the beginning of the guideline which said that you should not try to remove the placenta if it is adherent. Not try to
Yes.
pull it or try to intentionally manipulate it, like to get it out of the uterine wall, and you can leave it in situ just to avoid any kind of hemorrhage or any kind of bleeding. So you can leave the placenta in situ if it is not coming out on its own, and then further you can accordingly decide, like if she either, if like we discussed in one of the options where it was for the first time it was found during the procedure, like accidentally or incidentally and when you were doing it and cesarean section, and then you found out that it is placenta accreta. So in those situations, what you're going to do is you can go for emergency hysterectomy.
And it
Okay.
is false now. It's not the last resort.
Yes, yes, definitely. It is not the last resort. Because I'll just clear it once more. Because if you see the first line also, that cesarean section hysterectomy with the placenta left in situ is preferable to attempting to separate it from the uterine wall. Okay, so here
Yes.
was one point, and then uh, so this slide was completely different for expectant management. So this was again one slide where you found out that it is placenta accreta spectrum for the first time during the surgery. Then also the placenta should be left in situ and an emergency hysterectomy performed. So this is what the recommendation says. So this is not the last resort basically. This is what we usually do. Okay. All right. So what you can do is please, if you have taken the screenshots, you can just go through the slides once more because this will like completely revise everything. And if you have the print out in hands for these guidelines, you can just quickly go through the guideline and then the topics will be done for you. Okay, and if there's anything which you were unable to understand during this session, please mention it in the Telegram group so that I can explain it again and practice more questions. And in the next session, because most of the questions were from antepartum hemorrhage rather than directly from these topics. So in the next question, there will be more important questions with respect to recalls and all. And meanwhile, just try to learn all the points which you have read today, because as I mentioned in the very beginning of the class that they are focusing more on the topics now which have never been asked. So these are the topics from which not much questions have been asked, but yes, recently they have started asking many questions based on these topics. So each and every word, each and every line, everything is very important. Okay. All right. So next
Hello,
class,
ma'am.
are you all comfortable with
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, please, ma'am. I want to ask a question.
Yes,
Just
please.
a question. If you are doing expectant management for placenta accreta syndrome, maybe you discover I decided not to do cesarean hysterectomy. From your slide, what I got was that it's not necessarily to give methotrexate. Is that what is recommended now? That we should not give methotrexate. We should just leave the placenta like that.
Yes, because of the adverse effect associated with the methotrexate, so it is not being given as an adjuvant anymore, based on the recent guideline.
Okay, I got that.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Welcome.
What is the next topic for next class? Topic for the next.
Tomorrow there will be scheduled class as per in the revised schedule. Just let me check. And I was asking like all of you that this antepartum hemorrhage and blood transfusion, these two topics are still left. So do you want to take it on Thursday or Friday? Or Friday is
Friday,
good.
Friday is good.
Friday is good. Okay. So then Friday we will have one more session and then it will be over. And rest all the classes will be accordingly. Just a second, let me check.
It will be good if you start a bit late, around 4:30 to 5. 5 will be good
Okay.
on
Okay.
Friday.
Okay, yeah, that we can do. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
So just a second. So tomorrow you have so tomorrow it's a Wednesday, right? So
Okay.
yesterday you all had class on multiple pregnancy?
Yes.
Okay. So tomorrow then domestic violence and pregnancy and complex social factors, IUGR and genetic disorders. This is what is left. So you will have a class in this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And if there's any doubt, you can ask questions in the group as well and keep practicing questions. And my remaining session will be on Friday, inshallah. Okay. Okay, then see you all on Friday. Take care. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.